Senate will come back to order. All right, members of the Senate, each year the Wyoming Legislature sponsors the Legislative Internship Program, providing high school and college students with a unique insight into the legislative branch of government and its crucial role in creating public policy. Both the high school and college interns will complete their internships on Friday. We want to acknowledge them for their hard work. Senators, please join me in welcoming these students to share a few words. Please.
Mr. President, members of the Senate, thank you. My name is Giancarlo Ferrero, and I'm a high school intern with the LSO, and I just want to start by thanking you all for this opportunity. I've learned things that I never thought I'd ever learn, and I got to meet many of you, and I wish I had more time so I could get to better know all of you. I also want to thank Mr. Keene. He's a great guy, and he just kept this thing entertaining, and he made us all feel welcome. I am an avid fisher in Wyoming, and I love this state, and I love what all of you do, and I think it takes some real courage to go up there and represent the people. And overall, I just really want to say thank you. I mean, what you guys do is stellar. I envy you, and I want to be like you later in life. You guys are the greatest role models that I think anybody could follow in this state. And I just want to finish up with saying, God bless America, God bless our troops, and go Pokes. Thank you.
Mr. President, members of the Senate, my name is Priscilla Martin. I am a sophomore student at LCCC and a Cheyenne local. These past few weeks, I've had the privilege to serve as an intern with the LSO, and I had learned before entering this program kind of the process that it takes for a bill to be passed into law, and seeing it up close, however, has been absolute on another level. I truly admire all the work that each one of you put in, not only during the session, but also throughout the interim months. Thank you, members of this body and LSO, for making this program possible. A specific thank you to Pierre, Clay, Mark, Libby, Sue, Corey, and Linda for answering all of my questions and allowing me to assist them in their jobs. And thank you to Mr. Keene and Ms. Davidson for coordinating this program and making this all possible, for getting us where I need to go and sharing a lot of very interesting stories along the way. And thank you, members of this body, for all the work you put in for this state and these citizens. It has truly been an honor.
Mr. President, members of the Senate, I'm Malachi Lennon. I'm originally from Douglas, but I'm a sophomore now at the University of Wyoming. I'm studying political science and economics, and I am assistant secretary and a prop for the Wyoming rugby team, hoping to do well again this season like we did last year. And I think I just want to focus today on what this great state has done for young people and its general citizens alike. This state has allowed me to get a world-class education, allowed me to do so many more things in high school than much more of my peers have been able to, and has given me a leg up on just about any other person in the entire nation when it comes to professional and personal opportunities. It allowed me to do something as special as this, which, even if it's just an intern at the state legislature, I've been more than grateful to do so, and I'm extremely blessed to have the great opportunities that the state is able to provide. And I'll just keep it brief. I don't know if I'll ever be able to repay what this state has done for me and the opportunities that it has given me, but I'll try. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President and members of the body. My name is Kelly Joyce. I'm a computer engineering and economics major at the college. So the question I get asked most is, why am I here? But what I would like to say is I like to experience things. And I think that politics, I'm realizing, is starting to involve things from every aspect of life. You guys have to learn about a lot of different things, from agriculture to like community life to education. And it's just so like admirable that you guys try so hard to talk to constituents, to go out, to know the people in your communities, even though you guys all have separate lives outside of this legislature. I think that one of the things I've learned most, and I'm taking with me, and maybe just to remind all of you guys about, is that legislature is so complex, but it's so beautiful at the same time. And when we learn about it in school, it can seem like, oh, we know what's going on in certain places, but it's so complex that when the headline comes out, and it says some law is passed, it's like, oh, I don't agree with that. But they weren't there to hear the story. And when I was in committee meetings, I heard so many things. And I think one of the beautiful things about being nonpartisan in our role is that you start to listen. And you start to hear from different sides and actually understand where people are coming from. And I think that's the complexity that a lot of people lack when they go to the news and hear one certain thing. And I don't think it's the news trying sometimes to try to push a certain perspective. I think it could just be a lack of not having enough time to explain what goes on here, because it's a lot. You're here for a long time away from your families, and I very much respect that. I'm simply just so grateful for every single one of you and the opportunity to be here.
Mr. President, members of the Senate, thank you for having me. My name is Sarah Maynor, and I was born and raised in Sheridan, Wyoming. I'm currently a senior at the University of Wyoming, majoring in psychology. Contrary to psychology, I plan on attending law school after graduation. So this has been a really amazing experience for me to kind of get into kind of what law is about. I would like to give a quick thank you to my family back in Sheridan for going suit shopping with me, as none of us have ever done that. So it was an experience for everyone. I'm going to continue my education in law school and become an attorney and hopefully go back to Sheridan. I would love to stay in Wyoming. Thank you for this amazing opportunity. Especially thank you to Richard and Rihanna. Thank you for selecting me and giving me this chance to come and see how the legislature works. Thank you all for your hard work these last few weeks. Everyone has had a lot of long hours. It's been a little crazy, but your dedication is essential in keeping our state running and preserving the beauty and splendor of our great state. So thank you.
Mr. President, privilege of the floor, sir. Thank you. Thank you, senators, for letting me speak to you all today. My name is Evan Johnson. I'm originally from Washington State and came to UW to play golf. And I've just really enjoyed my time here. First of all, I would like to thank Mr. Keene and Mrs. Davidson for making this experience possible. They've really given us an amazing opportunity to get our foot inside the door here, and I can't thank them enough for just pushing us all to get the most out of this opportunity. Next, I would like to thank the rest of the LSO staff. I've been able to witness firsthand how much time, dedication, and attention to detail is demanded from all of them, and their work behind the scenes will not go unnoticed. And it can be overlooked. So thank you for taking the extra 2 seconds to pour into me and help me get the most out of this experience. Finally, I would like to thank all of you senators for being so kind and inviting to me and my fellow interns. Before this experience, I had little inside knowledge of the inner workings of state politics. After my time here, I've drawn much away and gained a tremendous amount of respect for you all. You all sacrificed time from your families to be here to make Wyoming a better place for my generation and the future generations to come, and I can't thank you enough for that. As my time here ends, I am able to now look back and see how much I have grown during this internship. I've truly gained a new understanding for the legislative process, one that I'm thankful for and now saddened to be leaving behind. But as I close out my chapter here, I simply cannot thank you guys enough for your time and dedication to the state of Wyoming. Thank you.
Mr. President and members of the Senate, I want to say a big thank you to all of you here today, especially Mr. Keene and Ms. Davidson, as well as all the LSO staff and the people that make this possible behind the scenes, from the people that provide food, the people that clean the Capitol every day, and the people that make this a really enjoyable experience. My name is Elise Newton. I'm originally from Cheyenne. I'm currently a freshman at the University of Wyoming. I'm studying political science and education with a focus in pre-law and a minor in honors. I have a very strong interest in financial literacy for students. I started a project when I was 16 called the Senior Survival Project, which is all about student-centered learning and education for the students by the students. And through that, I have made that the focus of my capstone project at the University of Wyoming Honors Program. And talking to Senator Rothfuss has made me want to intern today, so I have to say a big thank you to him. I've had the honor of working with Governor Gordon and the State Board of Education, and I'm currently on the Wyoming Social Studies Standards Committee, reviewing and rewriting the state's education standards with my knowledge on financial literacy. I'm very appreciative for this opportunity to learn how the statewide system works of government, and I appreciate all your guys' hard work on behalf of the people of this state and what it takes to advocate for people, even when it gets tough. So I want to say thank you, and go Pokes.
Good afternoon, Mr. President and honorable members of the Senate. My name is Edwin Morales. I'm originally from Albin, Wyoming. I'm a junior studying criminal justice and business economics at the University of Wyoming, and I currently serve the students of the University of Wyoming as a student senator for the Associated Students of the University of Wyoming, or ASUW for short. It has truly been an honor to serve as an intern during this legislative session. I want to give a huge thank you to Mr. Keene and Ms. Davidson and all the LSO staff for this incredible opportunity and for all the wisdom they have brought upon all of us. Something that is an even bigger honor is being from the state of Wyoming. From our great prairies to our majestic mountains, there truly is something special about our state, and that specialness also extends to the people of the state. Wyomingites are a strong, courageous, resilient, kind, and neighborly people. With this in mind, it's hard not to fall in love with our state. It is the reason we're all here in one way or another. So I also want to with that in mind, I want to give a big thank you to all of you for your dedication, love, and commitment to our great state. The work you all have done this legislative session will be the groundwork for future generations of Wyomingites, like my generation, to succeed, or potentially clean up your mess. But all jokes aside, I want to thank all of you for this incredible opportunity, as it has been an honor of a lifetime to work alongside all of you as an intern and to serve my great home state. Thank you. May God bless Wyoming, God bless America, and go Pokes.
One more round of applause for these interns. All right. Messages from the House. Oh, I am so sorry. I already forgot. Senator Barlow,
Mr. President, privilege of the floor.
floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. We also have some other folks, many of them from the University of Wyoming. We have University of Wyoming pharmacy students, their instructors, and private pharmacists from all over the state of Wyoming up here. So if they would please stand and let's welcome them to the Wyoming Senate.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, and welcome to the Senate. All right. Okay, messages from the House.
Mr. President, dated March 5th, 2026, the following bills passed the House on third reading by the vote indicated. Senate File 54, State Banks and SPDI Conversions, ayes 37, noes 24, excused 1. Senate File 55, Special Purpose Depository Institution Amendments, ayes 36, noes 25, excused 1. Senate File 85, ayes 61, excused 1. Senate Joint Resolution 9, Keeping Public Lands Protected and Decisions Local, ayes 54, noes 7, excused 1. Each signed Katie Talbot, House Chief Clerk. Mr. President, dated March 5th, 2026, message 298, the bill listed below failed to pass the House on third reading by the vote indicated. Senate File 39, long-term homeowner tax exemption amendments, ayes 23, noes 38, excused 1, signed Katie Talbot, House Chief Clerk. Mr. President, each dated March 5th, 2026, the following Senate files passed on third reading in amended form by the vote indicated. Senate File 9, Prescriptive Easements for Electricity Delivery, ayes 47, noes 14, excused 1. Senate File 101, Second Amendment Protection Act Amendments, 3. Ayes 40, noes 21, excused 1. Wyoming Pharmacy Act Amendments, ayes 41, noes 20, excused 1. Each signed Katie Talbot, House Chief Clerk.
Thank you. Let's see, assignment of some joint conference committees. House Bill 69, Joint Conference Committee number 1 will be Senator Case Chairman, Senators Cooper and Guru. House Bill 78 will be Senator Hicks Chairman, Senator Ide, and Senator Boner. And then this one I'll wait on. We already have some people off the floor. Okay. All right. We ready to go into third? Bills on third reading. Madam Majority Floor Leader, do you have a consent list for us?
Yes, Mr. President. I move third reading consent list as follows. House Bill 16, Secretary of State expedited filings. House Bill 39, Firearms Rights Restoration Amendments. House Bill 41, WHP, DCI, and Warden Retirement Benefits Amendments. House Bill 43, Anti-Money Laundering. House Bill 80, Identification Cards Renewal for Care Facility Residents. House Bill 83, Legislative Subpoena Penalty. House Bill 92, Sexual Predators Prohibited from Public Office. House Bill 96, Carrying of Concealed Weapons Age Requirement. House Bill 98, Prohibit Red Flag Gun Seizure Act Penalty Amendments. House Bill 102, Protecting Kids from Deepfakes and Exploitive Images. And House Bill 120, Energy Product Reclassification and Sovereignty Act.
Thank you. Would anybody like any of these bills removed from the consent list? Senator Case.
Yes, I'd like House Bill 92, Registered Sex Offenders Prohibition from Public Office, also known as sexual predators.
Okay. Any other bills? Senator Hutchings.
President, House Bill 120.
House Bill 120, Energy Product Reclassification and Sovereignty Act has been removed from the consent list. Any others? Any others? Seeing none, having been read 3 separate times, the question is, shall these bills pass the Senate? House Bill 16, Secretary of State expedited filings. House Bill 39, Firearms Rights Restoration Amendments. House Bill 41, WHP, WCI, and Warden Retirement Benefits Amendments. House Bill 43, Anti-Money Laundering. House Bill 80, Identification Cards Renewal for Care Facility Residents. House Bill 83, Legislative Subpoena Penalty. House Bill 96, Carrying of Concealed Weapons Age Requirements. House Bill 98, Prohibit Red Flag Gun Seizure Act Penalty Amendments. And House Bill 102, Protecting Kids from Deepfakes and Exploitative Images. The Chief Clerk will call the roll.
On consent list, Anderson. Barlow. Boner. Brennan. Case. Cooper. Crago. Crum. Dockstetter. Driscoll. French. Guru. Hicks. Hutchings. Ide. Jones. Kolb. Landon. Larson. Love. McEwen. Nethercott. Olson. Pappas. Pearson. Rothfuss. Salazar. Schuler. Scott. Steinmetz. President Beitman.
Aye.
On the consent list, 31 aye. House Bill 16, are there any changes? Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. House Bill 16, 31 aye. House Bill 39, are there any changes? Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. House Bill 39, 31 aye. House Bill 41, are there any changes? Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. House Bill 41, 31 aye. House Bill 43, are there any changes? Aye. Aye to no. Cooper, aye to no. McEwen, aye to no. Pearson, aye to no. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. House Bill 43, 27 aye, 4 no. House Bill 80, are there any changes? Aye. Aye to no. Closing. Closing. Pearson? Aye to no. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. House Bill 80, 29 aye, 2 no. House Bill 83, are there any changes? Rothfuss? Aye to no. Guru? Aye to no. Barlow, no. Case, no. Hutchings, no. Cooper, no. Landon, no. Schuler, no. Crum, no. Brennan, no. Pappas, no. Ide, no. Jones, Jones, no. Nethercott, no. Anderson, no. Dockstetter, no. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. House Bill 83, 15 aye, 16 no. House Bill 96, are there any changes? Rothfuss? Aye to no. Guru? Aye to no. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. House Bill 96, 29 aye, 2 no. House Bill 98, are there any changes? Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. House Bill 98, 31 aye. And lastly, House Bill 102, are there any changes? Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. House Bill 102, 31 aye.
Having received the affirmative vote of the majority of the members elected to the Senate, House Bill 16, Secretary of State expedited filings. House Bill 39, Firearms Rights Restoration Amendments. House Bill 41, WHP, DCI, and Warden Retirement Benefits Amendments. House Bill 43, Anti-Money Laundering. House Bill 80, Identification Cards Renewal for Care Facility Residents. House Bill 96, Carrying of Concealed Weapons Age Requirements. House Bill 98, Prohibit Red Flag Gun Seizure Act Penalty Amendments. And House Bill 102, Protecting Kids from Deepfakes and Exploitative Images, have passed the Senate. House Bill 83, having failed to receive the affirmative vote of the majority of the members elected to the Senate, House Bill 83 has failed to pass the Senate. Bills on third reading. House Bill 44, third reading of the House Bill.
House Bill 44, engrossed, revisers bill, an act relating to the revision of statutes and other legislative enactments, sponsored by Management Council.
There is an amendment. Would the reading clerk please read in the amendment?
House Bill 44, third reading, amendment number 1, corrected copy, page 1, line 10.
Mr. Reviser's bill, Senator Grew.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move third reading amendment number 1 to House Bill 44 and ask for your consideration. I hope you all have the corrected copy with you, the corrected copy in your file from it was changed. I would love to go back and revisit the entire reviser's bill for you, but, well, maybe we don't have time. I already did it once, although I seem to be catching some grief for it, but we do it every year. So here's just an example of how this works, and this amendment's perfect. If you just turn your attention down to about line 20, We're just repealing a section of law. Which law, you wonder? Well, actually, it was a bill that we just passed, Senate File 61, motor vehicle sales used to family members not taxable, from right here across on this side of the room. What happened was this section was put in to that bill just to codify it to the section. But earlier, our good friends at the Joint Revenue Committee and their interim work had a bill that works on a whole bunch of revisions. This is House Bill, Senate File 79, sorry, sales and use tax reorganization. So moving use tax into sales tax and reorganizing the entire set. Great work from our Revenue Committee. Well, all this amendment does is take out the section that 79 fixed out of 61. And that's all it does. It does not change that bill at all. But someone looking through the green books later would try to track that back through, and it would not track back. Our crack team back in the bullpen made that correction to make the green books as effective as they can be. And I ask for your favorable consideration and would love not to stand for questions. Thank you.
Any questions? Discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, we're voting on third reading amendment number 1 to House Bill 44. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. Motion carries. Third reading amendment number 1 to House Bill 44 has been adopted. We're back on the bill. Discussion on the bill. Senator Anderson.
Mr. President, it's interesting that the computer doesn't have the corrected copy on it. I have a copy of it, but it isn't on the page. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. Further discussion on the bill? Seeing none. House Bill 44 having been read 3 separate times. The question is, shall this bill pass the Senate? The chief clerk will call the roll.
Third reading roll call, House Bill 44. Anderson? Aye. Barlow? Aye. Boner? Aye. Brennan? Aye. Case? Aye. Cooper? Aye. Crago? Aye. Crum? Aye. Dockstader? Aye. Driscoll? Aye. French? Aye. Garou? Aye. Hicks? Aye. Hutchings? Aye. Ide? Aye. Jones? Aye. Cole? Aye. Landon? Aye. Larson? Aye. Love? Aye. McEwen? Aye. Nethercott? Nethercott? Aye. Olson? Aye. Pappas? Aye. Pearson? Aye. Rothfuss? Aye. Salazar? Aye. Schuler? Aye. Scott? Aye. Steinmetz? Aye. Beitman?
Aye.
Aye. Closing vote? Closing vote closed. House Bill 44, 31 aye.
House Bill 44 having received the affirmative vote of the majority of the members elected to the Senate, House Bill 44 has passed the Senate. House Bill 92, third reading of the House bill.
House Bill 92, engrossed, sexual predators prohibited from public office, an act relating to the administration of the government, sponsored by Representative Lucas.
Senator Case.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, yesterday we actually changed the catch title of this name. We changed it from sexual predators prohibited from public office to registered sex offenders prohibited from public office. And we did that because that's what the bill does. This bill is about anyone, any person on the sex offender registry and prohibits them from public office for life. Even if you get your rights restored in other ways, you serve the terms of your sentence, you are an upstanding citizen, you cannot serve in public office. And I thought, well, let's think about all of us in our lives and the mistakes that we've made. What if any one of those mistakes disqualified you for sitting in these chairs right now, Mr. President? I don't think that's quite right. I attended a meeting with several of you yesterday morning, and we talked about, in the meeting, a couple of members brought up, they said, well, you know, we should remember, we should always have some grace, that redemption is possible, and that can a person who's made a mistake in their life, who has otherwise been an upstanding citizen, but still exist on the registry, and even if they got off the registry, they're still for life because they were on the registry, as I understand it. Does that really mean that they can't serve their community in some way? Now, of course, there might be exceptions, and the particular incident that was talked about, that brought this bill about, was about someone running for a position within a community college, as I recall. And there was a failure in that case because they shouldn't have been a legal candidate, as I understand it. But to disqualify everyone for life is a big step. And you know, people long ago, there are people that are married, they're your relatives, maybe your grandmother and grandpa, who could have been convicted of this law, could have had to register, but it didn't happen because they probably got married. And you can still get married and kind of avoid some consequences of this law in Wyoming. Mr. President, there was the famous case of the adulterous woman, and the great teacher said, "Who among you is without sin, please cast the first stone." Opposed to this bill.
Further discussion on the bill? Senator Rothfuss.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I share those concerns. I'm against the bill as well. Again, we already have provisions that indicate that felons are ineligible for most of these offices. I think we're a little unclear on whether they're ineligible for all of them because we expanded the list, and I don't know if we have certainty, but in general, we know that the felons are going to be ineligible. And we know that we have provisions that allow for redemption from that felony, and under certain circumstances, you can have your rights restored. And that would theoretically then provide you, under current statute, with the opportunity to run for office. This bill eliminates that possibility. And Mr. President, it seems to me that the system that we have right now is a pretty fair and reasonable system. If you have your rights restored because you take appropriate steps to have those rights restored, society, our community, our state has basically stepped up and said, all right, you've served your time. We're welcoming you back. We're giving you back your rights. Oh, but wait, not all your rights. We're gonna hold you back on a few. And I don't know why we need to do this. And honestly, most of the motivation for this bill, and I think the support for the bill comes from the idea, and it's an appropriate idea and motivation, that we want to ensure that anybody that's on the sex offender list is appropriately recognized, and we want to try and prevent future related crimes. But the thing about it, which is interesting, that we almost never talk about, is if you look at the data and you look at the tremendous amount of literature and metadata studies about these sex offender registries, they serve absolutely no real purpose in reducing recidivism associated with crime. They don't do anything. They don't prevent crime. They don't stop crime. They don't actually end up serving in any warning capacity. They literally just make us feel better that we're doing something about a horrible problem. But they don't accomplish an objective? Well, I guess the one objective that they might accomplish if we pass this is to ensure that somebody who's previously guilty would not ever, under any circumstance, be able to serve in an official capacity in any of these roles. But again, Mr. President, I'm not convinced that being on the list is in and of itself disqualifying. What you did to get on the list may well be disqualifying. That's the current system, to be clear. You may have done something and been convicted of it, and you are a felon, and you're not going to get your rights restored, and you are disqualified. And that's fair. But remember, the list is a lot broader than just what you did. There are ways to get on it for many, many years, for your entire lifetime, that I'm not certain are completely disqualifying. And most of these roles are elected roles. And if the public wants to elect somebody who is on this list, knowing they're on the list, that's up to the public. That's a public decision. And if they don't, well, they'll vote accordingly. We don't have to make this change. We're not solving a problem. We're not making things better. We already have a rational system in place. On and against the bill.
Further discussion? Senator Love.
Mr. President, thank you. I'm for the bill, and I was part of the issue that brought about the bill. I'm not on the bill, though, as a sponsor. The idea behind that there was a failure in the system, I would agree that that probably occurred. But then does the current law actually work? Is the current law actually being enforced? Or do we need to reconsider this idea and offer the amendments required to make this bill better so that we can achieve exactly what we're looking for? If somebody has had their rights restored, if that's an amendment that somebody would like to offer to a bill of this nature, I think that's appropriate. But otherwise, for every one person that is convicted of a sex crime or manipulation of a minor, or in this case, I can't remember the exact charge today, but it was against a minor, sexual exploitation of a minor is what it was, 2 counts, was running for a school position to have access to minors. So if the felony was really going to do its job, why did it fail? It took social pressure and public pressure for that individual to step down, and at no time during that process did any individual in the legal system say, hey, you can't be here anyway. So if this isn't it, what is? On and for the bill.
Thank you, Senator. Let's go to you, Senator Olson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to add some color to the conversation, looking at the laws around the registry. So first, this bill, what it does is it very clearly states that a sex offender means a person who is currently registered on the central registry. And there's been some conversation about redemption, and there's been some conversation about how if you're on this registry for life, you can't run for office. That's only a half-truth. Under subsection J of the registry statutes, those are the most heinous crimes, and those are lifetime registrations. So yes, those people who have committed the most heinous crimes and are sex offenders on the registry for life. But there are other offenders who can have their rights restored. And I'm not just talking about rights to vote or own a firearm, but their right to remove themselves from the registry list. It's after the period of their penalty has expired. So it's for some it's 10 years, for others it's 25 years. But there is a pathway for the less heinous sex offense crimes for people to get off the registry, and then they would be able to run for office. So I just want to add that to the conversation that there is a pathway for redemption. It exists in our current statutes, and it's only reserved for the less heinous crimes. This bill, I think, is more targeting the heinous offenders we don't want around children. We don't want holding offices of public trust that may involve children or may involve others. And so just wanted to add that to the conversation. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Senator Craigo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I said this on first reading, I'll say it again today. Mr. President, this is complicated stuff, super complicated stuff. When you start digging into the sex offender registry, it is a maze that is almost untraceable. I voted this bill out of committee because I think it's an important topic. I think there was a mistake made somewhere along the line. The person that the circumstance we're talking about in this particular county we sit in, I don't think that person should have ever been able to actually run for office, period. Don't think they should have been able to file. I think there was a mistake made. And I think this bill is an attempt to fix that, and I applaud that effort. But Mr. President, I'm extremely concerned about, I guess, the unintended consequences of where we're about to go. Mr. President, there are certain people who never can get off the registry. And there's another subsection. So in the registry, you have a 10-year registration requirement, you have a 25-year registration requirement, and certain people are lifetime. They never are coming off of that, absent some action by the governor. So, Mr. President, those people that are on that list are considered violent felons anyways. So those we can take them out of the consideration today because this bill does not apply to them. They will never get their voting rights back. They do not qualify for that for the most part. Again, this is complicated, so I'm not going to tell you there's no exceptions in there, Mr. President. For the most part, those people cannot serve in office under 610-106, which we read the other day. Truly, I think that is the statute we should be looking at. If we're worried about the situation we're dealing with here today, there is a simple fix in that statute to make it very clear you can't even be a candidate for an office. I proposed that the other day. I would gladly bring that bill next year and help with that process if that's what we need to do, and it would close the loophole we're talking about today. It takes the conversation about redemption out of this bill, and it actually allows people to run for office at some point in the future if they've gone through the process and they've taken the steps that they've needed to do to get their rights back. They may never get off they may never get off that 25-year registry because a lot of folks who get on the 25-year registry die while they're on the registry. It happens all the time. And so the 10-year one's a little bit easier to talk about. I think that one, we could talk about whether you have time to get off that, run for office, et cetera. But for 25 years, for a lot of folks, that's the rest of their life. And so I'm just worried about the consequences of that. The lifetimers, typically, we're not talking about them, as I said, Mr. President, because of where they end up on the violent felon list. Those are the folks that are prohibited from getting their rights back anyways, and they're covered by 610-106. So I think we just need to wade into this carefully. I said it on first reading. It's an important topic. I wanted to get it to the floor for our discussion, and hopefully we could find a solution. I don't think we got there with the bill as it sets today. And so hopefully we can bring it back. I'd prefer we just bring it in under 610-106, clarify that language. It's an easy fix, and it would solve the problem that this county faced, and I appreciate that problem. So thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Craigo. Senator Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. President. If this bill did what the catch title said, I guess I'd feel a little bit different about it. That's not what it does. This bill is far too broad. I talked to you about a young man the other day from southern Mississippi. Good man, a really good man. He's in a position in his life where his coworkers trust him with their lives. His only crime was being a black man in southern Mississippi 30 some years ago. But he's included in this. This bill's too broad.
Further discussion? Anybody else wish to speak on the bill? Seeing none, question being called. House Bill 92 having been read 3 separate times. The question is, shall this bill pass the Senate? The chief clerk will call the roll.
Third reading roll call, House Bill 92. Anderson? No. Barlow? No. Boner? Aye. Brennan? No. Case? No. Cooper? No. Crago? No. Crum? No. Dockstetter? Aye. Driscoll? No. French? Aye. Guru? No. Hicks? Aye. Hutchings? Aye. Ide? Aye. Jones? Aye. Cole? No. Landon? No. Larson? Aye. Love? Aye. McEwen? Aye. Nethercott? Nethercott, no. Aye. Olson? Aye. Pappas? No. Pearson? Aye. Rothfuss? No. Salazar? Aye. Schuler? No. Scott? No. Steinmetz? Aye. President Beitman?
Aye.
Aye. Closing vote. Cole? No to aye. Barlow? No to aye. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. House Bill 92, 18 aye, 13 no.
House Bill 92, having received the affirmative vote of the majority of the members elected to the Senate, House Bill 92 has passed the Senate. House Bill 120, third reading of the House Bill.
House Bill 120, engrossed. Energy Product Reclassification and Sovereignty Act, an act relating to administration of the government, sponsored by Representative Campbell.
Senator Hutchings.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just had a couple questions on this bill. No, I'm not trying to kill it or anything. Several constituents have been writing, and if we can get these questions answered, maybe I'll feel better, maybe I won't. One is the expedited approvals and the lack of buffer areas around these zones, industrial sovereign zones, will likely lead to decreased human health and environmental quality as important safeguards are omitted or sidestepped. That's one, and there's only two. This bill will likely result in higher taxes for the public and small businesses, leading to hardships and decreased property values near these industrial zones. If I can get a good understanding of what's going to happen with the zones and an answer to these questions, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Any further discussion? Senator Pearson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just have one question. I'm concerned about the expedited filings too. I love this bill, and it'll be hopefully near me. But what about with the expedited filings and things like that, what does that do to landowners adjacent to this area? Like as far as eminent domain and things like that? Because this is not in my purview, but I'm just wondering, does expedited mean that there could be a possible eminent domain issue, things like that? So if you could explain that to me, that would be great.
Any other discussion? Senator Rothfuss.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd be happy to address those questions. Regarding the first one about expedited approval, and it gets at also the most recent one, the possibility of decreasing human health and environmental quality as a result of that. Expedited does not mean diminished, and I think that's an important thing to realize. There's nothing in this act that decreases the obligations of our Department of Environmental Quality. Nothing waives the requirements under the Clean Air Act, Clean Water Act, and any other environmental act. When we expedite things, we typically are just trying to prioritize them and speed them up so that they get through the queue faster. In fact, the way our permitting and licensing statutes are written, they have required steps along the way. They have required permit periods, required review periods, and nothing in this act actually changes any of that. So where there are those public comment periods in place, public comment would still be required. So the expedited aspect of it really is, hey, let's try and do this as quickly as we can, but we're not breaking any laws to get you there. And that's still meaningful. That still gets things done more quickly, right? You're going to go pretty high up in the queue to get the process started and move through the queue as quickly as you can. That means that it's not necessarily sitting on a DEQ action officer's desk, perhaps, for the full 45 or 60 days. Maybe they're doing their work quickly before getting to the next public comment period. But none of the steps get skipped, and that's an important part of it. Mr. President, when we talk about this on the Minerals Committee, we always talk about it as not lowering the bar, but bringing the bar closer. So you still have just as much work to do to get it done, but let's just get it done in the most expeditious fashion as possible. And I think it's really important to understand that that's what we're getting at with expedited. It's not a diminishment of requirements or standards. With regard to increased taxes for the public, for business, and potential land value nearby, this requires a full action, first of all, in setting a zone by the county commissioners. And the county commissioners don't just get to wave a wand. They have to go through a full public process, and they'll take that feedback. If they have zoning, they'll comply with their zoning. If they don't have zoning, they're still going to have an awful lot of public input, and I am confident in our county commissioners to be listening to the public and be locating those things appropriately, right? They have, well, we've got plenty of plenty of former county commissioners in here, and I think they can tell you how how strenuous the public comment is for the county commission. So I'm confident that those voices will be heard. But with regard to any increase for taxes, I really don't see any way that would take place. In fact, I think if one of these zones is successful, it would provide a lot of additional revenue, potentially through a variety of means, whether that's property tax, ad valorem tax, severance, anything else along the way. And that's going to then make lives easier for the rest of us who aren't going to have to pick up the extra weight. So I think it does quite the opposite in that circumstance. And then getting back to the eminent domain concept, there's nothing in this bill that provides any additional motivation or incentive for eminent domain. All of the statutes that we have in place that make it pretty hard to engage in eminent domain would be there. And Mr. President, the last thing in the world you would want, honestly, if you wanted to expedite something, would be eminent domain. We think of that as trying to accelerate things, but boy, eminent domain does not make things faster. If you've gotten to the point where you're going with eminent domain, you're probably already years into it. It's going to be years more before you get to the conclusion line, because the lawsuits associated with eminent domain are unbelievable. This would be quite on the other side of it. If you don't have a good piece of property that is laid out, that is non-contentious, then you are not going to make it quickly to the finish line. This is all about doing things expeditiously, and the last thing in the world anyone in the state of Wyoming would want to do to get things done quickly would be to say the word eminent domain out loud as they're trying to proceed with the project.
Okay, Senator Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. President. To the senator's question about the expedited permitting, there's so many steps in these permits that have to be covered, whether it be for this particular project or an oil and gas project, whatever it may be. We do a lot of expedited permitting in the pre-surveys, and that's what we're talking about here. We do ARC surveys over a blanket area, even though we may only be giving a drill here or maybe over there. We do wildlife surveys the same way, where we blanket the entire area. And then when they consider that permit, they consider not just this, but what does it do for what the outlying areas of that permit. So a lot of times the surveys that are done on the expedited permitting situations are extremely beneficial to not just the landowner or the agencies involved, but to the wildlife or to the cultural or paleontologic dead animal issues. I'm sorry, I lost it there. But these surveys are extremely helpful all the way around as we're building these permits. And and for future permits also. So,
Thank you, Senator Cooper. Anybody else? Anybody else? Since you're ready for the question. House Bill 120, having been read 3 separate times, the question is, shall this bill pass? The chief clerk will call the roll.
Third reading roll call, House Bill 120. Anderson? Aye. Barlow? Aye. Boner? Aye. Brennan? Aye. Case? Aye. Cooper? Aye. Crago? Aye. Crum? Aye. Dockstetter? Aye. Driscoll? Aye. French? Aye. Guru? Aye. Hicks? Aye. Hutchings? Aye. Ide? Aye. Jones? Aye. Cole? Aye. Landon? Aye. Larson? Aye. Love? Aye. McEwen? Aye. Nethercott? Aye. Olson? Aye. Pappas? Aye. Pearson? Aye. Rothfuss? Aye. Salazar? Aye. Schuler? Aye. Scott? Aye. Steinmetz? Aye. President Beitman?
Aye.
Aye. Closing vote. Hutchings? Aye to no. Closing. Vote closed. House Bill 120, 30 aye, 1 no.
House Bill 120, having received the affirmative vote of the majority of the members elected to the Senate, House Bill 120 has passed the Senate. House Bill 145, third reading of the House Bill.
House Bill 145 engrossed, removing triple taxation for resident EV drivers, an act relating to taxation and revenue sponsored by Representative Yen.
There is an amendment. Would the reading clerk please read in the amendment?
House Bill 145, third reading, amendment number 1, page 2, line 20.
Senator Rothfuss.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move third reading amendment number 1 to House Bill 145 and ask the body's favorable consideration. Mr. President, I said I'd be back on third with this amendment, and I'd like to explain it. Everyone has a handout that I put together, a little spreadsheet. It should be handy in your box. It came in yesterday. And Mr. President, what we did on second reading, as you may recall, was we deleted the rebate through the second reading amendment. And that was of concern that the rebate was allowing EVs to basically pay less taxes than comparable vehicles, and that it was also causing a bureaucratic and administrative hassle. So we eliminated that. But with the elimination of it, it actually led to a circumstance where electric vehicles paid substantially more taxes, and that's what this sheet is going to show. So I'm going to walk through it real quickly and demonstrate where it's at now. Under current statute, you see in row 1, a truck pays around $225 a year if they get 16 miles to the gallon. A car pays around 120 miles per year in taxes if they get around 30 miles per gallon. That's assuming you drive around 15,000 miles in a year. If you go to row 3, a little ways further down, and the assumptions are shown if you're interested in them, but you might not be. The EV now, under existing law, pays around $294.13 of total taxes. That's $200 from the decal and $94.13 through sales tax and through alternative fuel tax aggregated. So if we look to row 4, the bill as it came to us, House Bill 145, increased the taxes from the 94 up to 131 because you're increasing the alternative fuel tax to 3.5 cents per kilowatt hour, but you're reducing the sales tax to 0%. So that was the intent of the bill, and then still leaving in place the decal fee, but allowing for a rebate. And the full rebate could be up to the value of those taxes. So you can see in the far right there on row 4, they would only pay $200. So the suspicion of members that these EVs could be going for a lower price of taxes was confirmed, because the comparable vehicle for an electric vehicle is actually the truck. These electric vehicles are 30 to 50% more massive than a comparable car. That gets you into truck land in terms of the impacts. So if we're looking at the comparison to the truck's at 225, this is at 200. So we put the amendment on as requested, that's row 5. It takes it up to 331.25, which is actually an increase in taxes relative to the EV now. So what this amendment does, and I've had conversations with a number of folks that were concerned with the original bill writing, and everyone seems reasonably happy with where this amendment takes us. It takes it down so that it's just above a truck. So the EV is just $6.25 a year more expensive than a truck. And that's the target that I think is fair. It's fair and equitable, and I believe that's the objective of everybody in the body. So all this amendment does, and I've moved the amendment, is take the decal fee down from $200 to $100 for an EV, and then $100 to $50 for a plug-in electric hybrid vehicle, making that comparable. But one of the key notes is we're still capturing more from out of state, which is important, right? We're capturing about 50% more on an out-of-state vehicle. That's one of the intents of this bill. So that's still taking place, Mr. President. I'd be happy to answer any questions, but that is the amendment. It helps make it a little bit more equitable with an appropriate comparable vehicle.
Thank you. Discussion on the amendment. Senator Pappas.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. I think this is really a good solution. As a co-sponsor in the bill, I think it's doing exactly what we wanted to do in a different way, and I think actually a more administratively, the administration of this will be a great solution. I do think, and I also think that putting EVs on parity with a truck is a good idea, and I like that. And I do like that, and the intent all along was to try to capture more of the folks that are driving through the state, try to capture that revenue to put in our roads, and I like that it's 50% higher here. So I think it's good. I would highly encourage an aye vote on this amendment.
Thank you. Further discussion? Senator Crum.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to thank the bringer of the amendment. Very great conversation over the last couple of days. This bill is better, and I'm on and for the amendment.
Thank you. Further discussion? Voting on third reading amendment number 1 to House Bill 145. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. Amendment has been adopted. We are back on the bill. Discussion on the bill. Question being called, House Bill 145, having been read 3 separate times. The question is, shall this bill pass the Senate? The chief clerk will call the roll.
Third reading roll call, House Bill 145, Anderson? No. Barlow? Aye. Boner? No. Brennan? Aye. Case? Aye. Cooper? Aye. Crago? Aye. Crum? Aye. Dockstetter? Aye. Driscoll? Aye. French? No. Guru? Aye. Hicks? Aye. Hutchings? Aye. Ide? No. Jones? No. Cole? Aye. Landon? Aye. Larson? No. Love? Aye. McEwen? No. Nethercott? Aye. Olson? Aye. Pappas? Aye. Pearson? No. Rothfuss? Aye. Salazar? No. Schuler? Aye. Scott? Aye. Steinmetz? No. President Beitman?
No.
No. Closing vote. Hicks? Hicks, aye to no. Closing. Dockstetter, aye to no. Vote closed. House Bill 145, 18 aye, 13 no.
House Bill 145, having received the affirmative vote of the majority of the members elected to the Senate, House Bill 145 has passed the Senate. Last bill on third reading, House Bill 178, third reading of the House bill.
House Bill 178, engrossed, Public Unions Transparency and Dues Withdrawal Limitations, an act relating to labor and employment, sponsored by Representative Williams.
Got a couple amendments. Would the reading clerk please read in that first amendment?
House Bill 178, third reading, amendment number 1, page 8, line 10.
Senator Cole.
Mr. President, I ask that third reading amendment number 1 to House Bill 178 be withdrawn.
Okay, absent objection, third reading amendment number 1 has been withdrawn. We're on third reading amendment number 2. Would the reading clerk please read in it?
House Bill 178, third reading, amendment number 2, delete.
Senator Cooper.
Mr. President, absent objection, I ask third reading amendment number 2 be withdrawn.
Absent objection, third reading amendment number 2 has been withdrawn. Third reading amendment number 3.
House Bill 178, third reading, amendment number 3, delete.
Senator Barlow.
Mr. President, I move third reading amendment number 3 to House Bill 178, as for the body's consideration. Members, there's two things that this amendment does, and I think I'll take the easiest one first in case somebody decides they want to start division. There was a second reading amendment that was adopted, Mr. President, and it changed the date from July 1st to December 1st of 2026. Mr. President, that's in the first 2 lines of this and the last 2 lines of this particular amendment. And all I did with this amendment is move it to January 1st, 2027. That's 30 days different than the second reading amendment, but it just made more sense to go on the calendar year instead of a December 1st. And I think I talked with the bringer of that amendment. I think that's what they intended to do, that just maybe got mixed in the translation. So that's the first part. The second part, Mr. President, is remainder of the amendment, lines 4 through 20. And this has to do with what this, I think the bringers of this bill are trying to do, is not have public funds used for private purposes. Or to the benefit of private purposes. And I understand that and respect that approach. And what this amendment does is basically say, except as provided, and then it goes with the current language of the bill, which, by the way, if you haven't done a walk-in of the bill, the bill is about half the length it was after the standing committee amendment. So if there's questions about things that happened on page 3, page 4, most of page 5, and even page 6 and some on 7, those don't exist anymore. So we're really down to page 2 of the bill. Page 2 of the bill, and this is where this goes in, is except as provided. And this gives another subsection where a public employer, and I'm going to read it because I want it to be clear, may deduct fees at the request of the employee for two purposes, and that's the way this is laid out. The first is necessary support of the poor. That is something, we've talked about it on this floor. If the government, one use for public funds is to do that. So these are public employers and their employees want to use something to support a good cause, let's say feeding children, or let's say, taking care of the fire hall, or whatever that might be in their community. They want to go together as employees with this and say, we want to support this. Will you just remove this from our paycheck, and we just want to support this good cause. So that's the first reason. And I think that's a legitimate reason, constitutionally legitimate reason, why we can use public funds. So expending these employers' efforts and funds and facilities for that purpose seems like a pretty straight shot to me. The second one goes to, I think, what the real concern of this, the genesis of this bill is in public employees having them using that system through the public employer to have those funds go to a private benefit, not a necessary benefit of the poor, but for a private benefit. And what this amendment, Romanet II, does, it just says, if you want to do that, you can request to do it, and the employer just has to assess you that charge or that fee for that transaction. Ladies and gentlemen, I think that many of you have businesses that are registered with the office downstairs, and you get a convenience fee when you do it. And it's a couple dollar convenience fee to go through that process. So I don't think this is something that's, it's not new to many of us who are in business, and I don't think it's out of line. Actually, this came from when we were talking about this bill on the first day. There were a lot of folks here that was very interested in this bill. And so I asked him, so how does this work if it was a private employer? He goes, well, we cover that cost. So I think this is a direct way for the public employee to say, yes, I want this, and I'll cover the cost for my employer, public employer, to do this the same way. As my understanding is that 2 days ago, that's what the private employers are doing as well. So I'd be glad to stand for any questions, and thank you for your consideration. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Barlow. Discussion. Let's go to Senator Rothfuss and then over to Hicks.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, on and for this amendment, both divisions, if we decide to divide it, but speaking specifically to the main portion of it with allowing reasonable fee deduction, I think that's perfectly rational, and that seems to address all of the concerns that folks in here have, where it's an additional expense to the state. They're worried about the additional expense. And I happen to have in the lobby a very interesting conversation with somebody who works with an organization that represents a lot of the public employees in the state, who's been there quite a long time, Mr. President. And as it turns out, prior to around 2002, this was exactly what was done. It wasn't in statute, but they would write a check every month or so and send it to the state auditor. And that would effectively pay for the state's needs, and it was a relatively trivial amount of money, because as it turned out, it was nearly inconsequential. And so prior to 2002, that was exactly what took place, and this would be codifying what previously took place. In 2002, the person that was in the office at that point in time just said, oh, please stop. We don't need this small amount of money. This is easy for us. It's already taken care of. So please stop. And so it never happened since. But if we, the Senate, Mr. President, are very concerned about the seemingly onerous amount of work that is going into this by the state, and that the state is doing something for nothing, then this is a very responsible approach to it. The calculations can be made, and everyone goes forward happy. We don't waste the state's time and money, but at the same time, we have the opportunity to satisfy the hardworking people of Wyoming that would like this service provided. Looks like a win-win, Mr. President. I hope the body will support it.
Thank you. Senator Hicks.
Mr. President, I'd like to divide the amendment.
Okay.
So, Mr. President, this first part will go with both divisions, so line 1 through 8, and lines 22 and 23 would go with both divisions. Division 1 will be line 9 through 11, and Division 2 would be would be 17 through 20. I think I may have messed that up. No, Mr. Chairman, let me start back. So Division 2 is going to be, let's start all over again.
Good thing I'm using a pencil, not a pen.
Yeah, I'll tell you. So, Mr. President, the first component would go with both divisions, and that's basically line 1 through 11. And then also line 22 through 23. Division number 1 would then be line 13 through 15. Division 2 would be 17 through 20.
I see what you're doing here. Okay, that's divisible. Kinda. Well, somebody wants to challenge that. Senator Rothfuss.
Yeah. Mr. President, point of order. That division, while somewhat confusing, it is a bit of a stretch of anything that we've typically done, because you're trying to reuse a section and provide a choice between multiple Romanettes. Typically, you need to be able to adopt the entirety of a division. The divisions don't stand by themselves. You can imagine if we failed Division 1, but adopted Division 2 or Division 3, you don't have an amendment any longer. So you can't do that.
So-
That's exactly how you define whether a division is divisible or not. The questions have to stand independently. If they fail, you still have an appropriate amendment left. And in this circumstance, you don't.
Well, you want to have a rules committee?
No, Mr. Chairman,
Or
or
Senator
Mr. President,
Hicks.
if I may, I don't think we need a rules committee.
Okay.
So what I'm trying to do is just segregate out the Romanet I and the Romanet II. The rest of the bill goes with either one of those if they pass or fail.
See what Senator Scott has to say. Senator Scott.
Mr. President, I'm going to suggest that a simpler division might be to make lines 1 and 2 and 22 and 23 one division, which relates to the date, and the balance of the amendment, the second division.
Okay, Senator, that, we'll pin that, Senator Scott. Let's go to Senator Case.
Mr. President, Mason, section 312. What proposals can be divided? Part 1, to be divisible, a proposal must include subjects or parts so distinct and separate that one of them being taken away, the other will stand as a complete proposal. A proposal not capable of being so divided may still be objectionable as containing more than one subject. However complicated as, this is part 2, however complicated a single proposal may be, as long as it contains only one subject, no member has a right to insist upon its division. The member's remedy is to move that it be divided if it is capable of division, or if not, to move to strike out the objectionable parts and leave one clear proposal. So I think he'd have the ability to strike out in a motion and leave one clear proposal. That would be section 312, part 3.
All right, Senator Hicks.
So Division 1 is line 17 through 20. The rest of the amendment is Division 2.
Point of order before I make my call on that one.
Thank you. Division 1 can't stand alone, and therein lies the problem. And again, this is the way that the Senate has performed this for as long as I've been here has been that you have to have something left as your division, where if that division is passed, it stands alone. Romanet 2, you can't just have a Romanet 2. That's not a division. You have to divide it in a way, and again, the good tall senator from Turner County, obviously that's a perfectly divisible amendment, the idea of lines 1 through 3 and 22 through 23 being a division, and then the rest of it being a division. Obviously that's wholly divisible, clear by lines. The inclusion of a portion in multiple divisions is an interesting question where we've provided some flexibility on that. I honestly don't know that we have support to provide that flexibility, but I know that that has been done. But the degree to which this extends, is honestly fairly novel. Not all amendments are intended to be divided to the point where we get to pick and choose language. And at that point, Mr. Chairman, it digresses to the point where I just want to start striking out individual lines. I'm going to divide the amendment 23 times, and we're going to go through and I'm going to delete one at a time individual lines, and we're going to have a very interesting new process in the Senate where we start individually selecting words perhaps even to delete. There's a reason why our tradition has been what our tradition has been. I don't think we should go down this road.
Senator Boner?
Thank you, Mr. President. Maybe, can I just speak on the amendment and give the other parties this opportunity to maybe think a little bit more about what we're trying to do? Is that?
No,
Okay.
he's been, the motion's to divide the amendment right now, so. Senator Hicks, the one before this one might have been divisible, but this one certainly.
Mr. President, I think probably the most expeditious way to deal this is a Rules Committee, because you had ruled that it was divisible, so for that purposes, I would say that I'd ask for Rules Committee and we'll clean this thing up.
Let's do that. Rules Committee, Senate will stand at ease to the sound of the gavel. All right, Senate will come back to order. Let's go to you, Senator Hicks.
Mr. President, so after a long debate and wrestling system with the Rules Committee, rather than drag this out a little longer, members of the body, I'm going to withdraw my divisions and speak to the amendment. So members of the body, I would encourage a no vote on this amendment, and I'm going to tell you the rationale is go down to line 19. And so the employee agrees to pay all reasonable costs. So here's the fundamental problem with this is who determines what the reasonable cost is when you have 48 school districts out there, you have firefighter unions out there with different cities that employ them, and then you have a state public employees union. So who gets to determine what's a reasonable cost for all of these different entities out there that have to subtract these out of these paychecks? And so you may have 48 different reasonable costs for one public union, and you may have, I don't know how many different cities have different unions that work for them in the firefighting profession. Do they get to determine what that reasonable cost is? At the end of the day, I don't think this amendment works. The first part of it, they can already do. And members of the body, I don't think it accomplishes what this bill set out to do. I think this fundamentally alters what the intent of the bill was. Much of the discussion we had didn't just resolve around what it cost. There's other tangible reasons as to why we need to pass this out. So on and against the amendment.
Further discussion. Senator Boner.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. On and against the amendment. And just to be clear and to reiterate what we just heard, there's nothing in the bill that prohibits a donation being deducted that goes to a private charity. That's just not in the bill. Read the bill, page 2, which is still in the bill. There's a list of 5 different types of organizations. 4 of them are directly political. A political action committee at the state or federal level, a candidate committee. The first one is a labor organization or its affiliate. That's it. There's nothing in this bill that prohibits these funds for being deducted for necessary support of the poor or your regular 50C3 charities. So that first paragraph does nothing. And the second paragraph, absolutely. Nobody that I've heard stand in support of this bill said we're doing this to save costs. So the idea that we're going there is attempting to address an objective that the bill sponsors simply don't have. So those 2 elements, I think we need, one doesn't do anything, the other one, I think, does gut the bill. So let's be against this amendment.
Okay. Senator Crum.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm for the amendment. I think it answers all the questions. We've had lots of testimony, both at committee meetings and here on the floor, that this was about the costs that the state incurred by collecting these fees. Is the testimony I've heard. I haven't heard anything else other than that. I don't know if there is something that somebody wants to talk about, but the testimony has been about the cost. I think the good senator from up in King Coal Country has brought an amendment that answers and solves everybody's problems. So I'm on and for the amendment.
Okay. Senator Scott.
Mr. President, I do seek to divide the amendment.
Okay.
And the division would be, Division 1 would be lines 1 and 2, and lines 21, 22, 23, and the second division would be the balance of the amendment.
That is divisible. Which division would you like to speak to first?
Division 1, Mr. President.
Okay, on Division 1, sir.
Mr. President, assuming that the Jones second reading amendment is strictly related to the date, which I think is correct, is it not? What this Division 1 does is simply change the date to January of implementation, January 1st, 2027, and that does, I don't think that's controversial, Mr. President, and I would urge us to adopt Division 1. I think it simplifies the implementation of the bill.
Okay. Discussion on Division 1. Question being called. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. Division 1 has been adopted. Senator Scott on Division 2.
Mr. President,
on and against Division 2. We've already heard the basic reasons. I agree with them. I think it complicates the bill, and I think we're better off without it.
Discussion on Division 2. Senator Rothfuss.
Thank you, Mr. President. On for Division 2. Again, it's interesting to hear now on third reading from one of the proponents of the bill that nobody said anything about this being intended to save money. That's a bit of a surprise to me, Mr. President. I think that was like half of the debate before. When we started discussing the fact that what this seemed like it was doing was specifically targeting one particular employee association that was associated in a lawsuit against the state, and that this seemed like political retaliation, that was the debate for a little while. We discussed that. And then it was, no, it has nothing to do with politics. It's not targeting a specific organization. The only one that, is really being called out here, it's because we're wasting taxpayer funds. That was the argument that things shifted over to. We're wasting taxpayer funds. This is an expense to the state. This is an administrative cost, and that's not fair because we are spending taxpayer funds unreasonably. So it all shifted over to that. It's not political retaliation. It's taxpayer funds. And now on this amendment, third reading, relatively late in the afternoon, we're hearing, no, it has nothing to do with the costs. So I'm a little confused, but Mr. President, I think just to be safe, we should cover the costs. This is fair. This is good policy. If there is an expense associated with a non-state institution that the state bears or any public agency bears, it is appropriate for any private entity to bear that cost instead of the taxpayer. That is just good government. This amendment is good government. So I would hope that the body would support this. Whether or not they support the bill, this is good policy.
Okay, Senator Anderson on Division 2.
On Division 2, Mr. President, on and for the division, this helps this bill a lot for me. Thank you.
Okay. Senator Hicks on Division 2.
Mr. President, I still haven't got an answer to who determines what's a reasonable cost. Who makes that determination? 48 different public entities here, 5 different entities here. Who makes that determination? How do we have consistency?
Anybody else on Division 2? Senator Rothfuss for your second time.
Thank you, Mr. President. And this is the second time because when you have a new division, so this is just on a point of order. I heard somebody say third. The moment you do a division, the clock resets on number of times. So each division earns 2 new speeches, Mr. President. But for my second time, I just don't think this is a major concern, who determines reasonable, because you have an entity that is going to be the agent that does the work. They are going to be representing a political subdivision, and there are plenty of folks in that political subdivision that are responsible for deciding appropriate fees. So if it is 100 different fee bases throughout the state, that's okay as long as it's reasonable. This is not rocket science. I can't imagine this holding anyone back where they look at this amendment and they just think, wow, I feel like we're entirely incapable to determine what a reasonable fee here is. We're shutting down the government. That's probably not going to happen, Mr. President. Well, let's have a little faith and confidence in the folks in the state of Wyoming. I feel like, any third grader could probably handle this one.
Anybody else on Division 2? Seeing Senator Barlow. Senator Barlow.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, it's quite an honor to have my last amendment in my legislative career get divided.
Congratulations, sir.
Yeah, I know that's what you're thinking. Mr. President, look, as we discuss this and we talk about it, not just here on the floor, but we talk about it with the folks out in the lobby, folks in the gallery, hear from folks back home. They said, hey, we just want same ability that we've had, and we're willing to pay that cost. That's what this does. I think there's some other technical problems with this particular bill, and I've pointed them out to the advocates, and they think it's not substantive, well, that's fine. This one I think is substantive, because it actually gives people a vehicle to continue, if they so choose, to participate in ways that maybe this bill for some people is clear, but I don't know that it is as clear about who is involved and who's not. So if this is belt and suspenders, I'll take it. And I've heard in this body and in my 14 years in the Wyoming Legislature, government ought to work more like business. Well, in business, they charge you a fee if you were providing a service for them. And if we're going to provide this service, i.e., take these deductions for them for these other purposes, then it seems reasonable that they would pay part of that cost as the one who's requesting it. So on and for Division 2, thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. Anybody else on Division 2? Question being called. We're voting on third reading amendment number 3, Division 2. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. No. Division, yeah. Division on Division 2. All those in favor, please stand. No, yes. How many, those opposed stand? No. Division 2 has failed. Back on the bill. House Bill 178. Discussion on the bill, Senator Schuler.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think most of you probably figured out I don't care for this bill much. And at the end of the day, as I said yesterday, I just don't think it's the role of government to tell hardworking Wyomingites how to spend their money. We are a right-to-work state, and that's the beauty of Wyoming, I think. We all have the freedom to decide what to do with our money, and it doesn't matter if you're in a public sector or a private sector, it's your money. And, I'm sure this bill, because it comes from an out-of-state organization, some of them basically have in their goals to defeat unions in general, all across the country. And if that's what it's all about, that's fine. But, you think back about unions and, before we started passing some bills, like in the 1930s, and so on, there's obviously others, we had a lot of people that were working in very unsafe conditions, losing fingers and toes and arms and working, 18-hour days. We had child labor issues. So our unions really did provide, a public service. Do I agree with everything that all of them do now? Not necessarily. But the thing is, we are a right-to-work state. No one has to join one. In fact, in my own family, I was just thinking the other day, I've got 3 family members that work in the Trona mines. One of them works for a union, 2 of them, work in mines that they don't. They choose to or they choose not to. Also in my own family, I have 3 members that work in the educational field. One's an administrator, 2 are teachers. One of them belongs to a union, the other 2 don't. That's what freedom is all about. You're free to do what you want with your money. And obviously, I think, as I've said before, this bill is targeted. Always, it says in there that in the catch title that it's all about transparency, but it really isn't. And it's interesting that the mission statement of one of the organizations that's crafted this legislation, they state that they advocate for getting the economy working for hard workers by reducing regulations. Well, this bill adds regulations, and it adds additional work for every school district in Wyoming, every state HR department in our state, as well as firefighters, police stations. This bill, it's not good. It's going to require a lot of extra work. For what? So that we can have an organization tell us how we should spend our money? I don't think so. We have freedom to decide what to do with our money. No one has to join. That's the freedom that I like about Wyoming, but I don't like this bill. Please vote no.
Discussion, Senator Nethercott.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. I'm neither for or against the unions. I have no dog in the fight. Don't love them, don't hate them. Don't think they're really a thing in Wyoming. No offense to those unions listening, but just not really much of a factor in any way, despite all of the campaign rhetoric that we've seen. And so this bill, which is also a federal bill that comes up perennially to do the exact same thing at the federal level, and we see it here, and I feel like it's punitive and directed at a couple of unions. So I don't think the motivation is right. I don't think it's actually solving any problem. And more importantly, I think it's wildly short-sighted. So we're mad, we don't like them, we're gonna stop it. We're gonna do whatever we can. And so we're gonna control the paycheck at the state level, at the government level, okay? Then what? Do you think they're gonna go away? Do you think they're not gonna be funded? Or do you think they're gonna go on a membership campaign? And they'll just take out those membership dues out of an ACH through every individual's bank, right? So, yep, it may make it a little bit harder, but you're motivating them to get active. You're motivating them to coalesce. Not dissimilar to crossover voting, which I think I predicted as well too, not to sound that way, but when you're trying to stop a problem and it's short-sighted, right? Just this immediate quick fix, and you don't see the second, third, fourth, and fifth effects, which is exactly what this bill will do, you're actually making the problem worse. So striking a balance between people's rights to join a voluntary union and have their money taken out however they choose, with no cost to the government. I mean, that is a disingenuous argument, and no facts have been presented, despite this being in session now for a month, even remotely suggesting that there's a cost to any taxpayer. So listen, choose this position wisely, because I think this is just political points from out-of-state groups looking to gain political points to justify their existence, to justify what they do, and will likely result in stronger unions. So if you're against unions, this is the exact wrong bill to support, because they'll coalesce in membership. They'll go out to go replace that money and they will get more. We'll come back in 4 years and see if this is right, if this bill passes, and I suspect we'll see that. I also think it's pretty unique, the reporting requirements associated with unions. So the focus of this debate has been just on taking out the paycheck. But why are we focusing on these reporting requirements? And why would that not be associated with campaign finance, placed in that particular section? Concerned about First Amendment rights of these organizations, which is not only free speech, but the freedom of association. And so I do think that there are more concerns here in the bill than have been discussed. So again, I think it's short-sighted, and I think you're gonna have a stronger union presence in the state by passing the legislation.
Senator Boner.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just need to stand to make sure we understand what we're voting on. First of all, first responders are exempt from the bill. So this does not affect them at all. Police, firefighters, there's some discussion that somehow this is affecting them. That, as a reminder, is not true. Also, as a reminder, the Standing Committee Amendment took out the reporting requirements. So that is no longer in the bill as well. I can tell you that, there are national level reporting requirements for national unions. It's interesting, you should go take a look. Some of our state level affiliates show up in those national level reports getting quite a bit of grant money. So I'm a little confused about the rhetoric about national organizations having outside influence, as if that's only on one side of this particular issue. I think that there's quite a bit of national money flowing to our state level labor affiliates as well. But that's besides the point. That part is out of the bill. There's no reporting requirements as useful as I think that would be, because there's information in there that's not included in your campaign finance reports. So to be clear, this does not prevent anybody from associating with a labor organization. It's simply taking the government out of the picture. And for my part, I can't speak for every last person who may support this bill. I'm not interested in the cost savings, if there are any. I think this is a principled stand to ensure that the taxpayer is not supporting this sort of activity, whether it's a small amount of resources or a large amount. I think it's always inappropriate. So that's why I support the bill.
Senator Boner. Senator Guru.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm against. We just said it again. it just really gets to me. We're sending taxpayer dollars to send to a union. Absolutely, categorically false. Absolutely, categorically false. Just wanted to make sure we got that, because that's not what it is. This is someone's pay for work they've done from an employer to where they want it to go. That's it. This bill talks about and the proponents talk about it's because of who the employer is and where the money's going. Freedom, at least in my book, says my pay can go where I want. When I ask my employer to do it, if it's available to them, do it. In the private sector, it works that way. It works that way in my business. Even in this situation for a public employee, if they want the money to go to a charitable organization, it goes like it's on Gossamer Wings. But this money, for some reason, this part of my check that I want it to go somewhere is wrong. Why? Why is it wrong? Why is it wrong, Mr. President? I don't understand. It's because it's doing something that I want to do. That's freedom. Doesn't matter what it is, but yet it is. And that's the problem. And that's why I'm against it. I think it takes away freedom. It takes away freedom from the very people who are our employees, state employees. Taking away their freedom? Why? What are we afraid of? We're afraid of freedom. Interesting. Thank you. On and against.
Senator Scott.
Mr. President, on and for the bill. Mr. President, this bill doesn't take away anybody's freedom. You're perfectly free to write a check, anybody you want to, join any organization you want to. What this bill does is two things that I think are entirely consistent with our philosophy as a right-to-work state. First, this bill removes a special privilege that has been a special privilege for a particular class of organizations to have that paycheck deduction. Second, and I think probably more importantly, is that it lets individuals make the decision away from the workplace in their own privacy, use their own judgment, free from the kind of coercion that can and has been used to push membership in these kind of organizations. And I think eliminating that coercion in the workplace is a good idea and consistent with our right to life philosophy, Mr. President. So for those two reasons, on and for the bill.
Senator Pearson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wasn't going to speak on this bill. I'm for the bill because just as my colleague said on the other side of the aisle, there is coercion. There is, and people should have, if they want to be a part of these associations, whatever, they should have and they can, easy enough, get those dues debited from their accounts, whatever, but I am telling you that there is coercion. And it's not only for membership, but it is also for different negotiations. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Pearson. Senator Rothfuss.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, on and against the bill. Mr. President, you know, we've had an interesting debate on this that's moved around a little bit, and there still are some primary concerns that we've discussed that I don't believe have been addressed. The first, Mr. President, is how clearly this bill is targeting a small number of groups in a way that appears overtly punitive. and basically retaliation for filing a lawsuit against the state. To me, that's clear. We had an amendment that was withdrawn that would have made this apply to all union organizations, and at that point, it would have looked certainly less overtly directed and punitive, but that was, as I mentioned, withdrawn. So as this stands right now, our first responders are exempt from this bill. And I guess the question we haven't heard is why? And I think the reason is because right now, at this moment in time, we like the first responders and we don't like the public employees or the teachers. That's what I'm hearing. And I don't know how you could interpret it any other way, Mr. President. That's what this bill does. It takes a portion of the folks that benefit from existing law and allows them to continue while selecting another portion and eliminating them from a provision that they've utilized for many, many years. That's unfair. It's probably a violation of equal protection, and it might be the subject of a lawsuit. But the irony, Mr. President, that we haven't necessarily addressed is how many organizations are still going to be allowed to withdraw dues or contributions or whatever they see fit under this act. But we feel okay because we're getting rid of labor organizations and PACs and political organizations. We don't get rid of 501c3s or 501c4s. So those organizations, while we think of them oftentimes as being, for example, churches, and churches are certainly organizations that you could still contribute to, even if this bill passed. But the interesting part, Mr. President, is how many of those groups can still be advocacy groups. They can't be full-time advocacy groups, but they can still be advocacy groups. So it makes me wonder about the groups that stand nationally behind this bill, that sponsor this bill, and have been actively supporting this bill. And it makes me wonder, Mr. President, if any of them are 501c4s. And I didn't have to wonder long, because it's easy to find that out. The answer is a simple yes. Yes, they are. So those groups that so deeply hate these organizations and oppose them strongly so that they want to make sure that we can't, through an easy process, allow payroll deductions to provide contributions to their nemesis, are capable of receiving payroll deductions as contributions to them when this bill goes into effect. Of course, that irony wasn't brought up because it would probably have taken a briefing memo from those organizations to mention that. This is not just punitive, it's also hypocrisy, because it's representative of these large national organizations funded by incredible wealth that have the capacity to send people here full-time to do nothing but work on bills like this. And somehow we're supporting those organizations, Mr. President. What I'd rather support is the hardworking people of Wyoming, our public employees, and our teachers, and oh yes, our first responders, because they also oppose this bill, even if it isn't directly punitive against them. You can rest assured that every first responder, every firefighter in the state right now that is a member of a union opposes this bill. While it doesn't directly target them, they are wise enough and savvy enough to understand that the intent here is to divide and conquer, which is why they too oppose it. So don't think this bill is positive for our first responders, Mr. President, because they know better. They understand how this goes. Divide and conquer. There's nothing good about this bill. It's not saving money. It's not helping people. It's rewarding those ultra-wealthy individuals that still after this can receive payroll deductions to continue to fight that fight, and we should resist, Mr. President.
All right, let's go to Senator Kolb next, and then Senator Olson.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. Just to be clear, I don't have any association with any nationwide organizations. I don't have any emails, never have any correspondence. And let's go back a little bit. In the beginning, in this bill, as it was worked through the process, yeah, I felt it was punitive that there was reporting requirements when we weren't going to be involved with said collection and dispersal of money. I wondered why we would do that. So that's been taken out, and in my mind, dutifully so. Is it penalizing anyone? Heck no. We all have the ability to send our money where we want. There's no freedoms being infringed upon. No. You can still do what you want to do with your money. And that was the reason why I thought once we said we're not involved, we shouldn't have reporting requirements. I thought that was fair. And the bills come through the process to be how it is. I don't think the government should be involved in any of these type of intermediary collections. I just think it just leads to more problems. There's no good in my mind that comes from it, because we can all do, assign transfers of money between our checking accounts. It's really easy to do. Everybody does it with their electric bill, their power, the utility bills, phone bills, whatever. But we have a freedom of choice to do that. If we can spend our money on things that I think are great, and maybe things I don't think are great, but that's not my decision. That's your decision to use the money the way you see fit. So I see this bill doing nothing to hurt people, and certainly is never my intention to hurt, segregate, isolate anybody. That's not what my concern is at all. And to try to paint it as that, I'm going to have to rise up and say that's not the way I feel. I don't have any animosity towards anybody. I just want it to be fair to general taxpayers of the state of Wyoming and get our government out of that intermediary transactional position. That's why I'm on and for this bill as it is, Mr. President, and I urge your aye vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Olson.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. I think it's really important to address the first responders issue. It's not punitive. It's not punitive. It's very consistent with how laws like this have treated first responders in labor relations matters across the country and throughout many federal court cases. What the courts have held is that governments have a compelling state interest to treat first responders differently so that labor unrest and labor issues do not upset the delivery of first responder services to the people. So it is not uncommon to treat first responders differently. In fact, the opposite is very true in labor relations across the country. And federal courts have consistently held that it's okay to do that because we don't want to upset that apple cart for the first responders who are providing critical services. I'm not saying others don't provide services. They do to some, but they're categorized differently because they're not held as critical services. And so that's the distinction. That's the reason why your first responders were carved out of this bill, not to be punitive, on and for the bill.
Senator Nethercott, for your second time.
Mr. President, thank you. I'm gonna call a little baloney on that. I think we know the power of our firefighters. And they have significantly more power than our teachers. And I'm quite certain that if challenged at the federal level, that a court would find teachers and doctors and nurses at public facilities are just as essential. And there's distinguishing cases and don't have anything to do with the denial of their ability to have union dues taken out of their checks. Again, so it's a tortured argument being presented here because you're trying to get around the effort of punishing the teachers union. That's what this bill is. If we're trying to call it something else, that's not. This is trying to punish the teachers union. If it's about preventing the government system payroll from taking out any other type of payroll deduction, then let's pass that bill. Let's pass that bill. But we're not doing that. We're passing a bill targeted at one particular entity. Again, I'm neither for nor against the unions. It's just that this doesn't feel genuine to me. It doesn't feel authentic because it's not, and it's targeted at one group. And so, I'm against the bill for that reason. I also think The boomerang effect of going too far with the retaliatory action will have the opposite result you're seeking. So I'm against the bill, and I just want that clarified.
Senator Ide.
Thank you, Mr. President. I know everybody's getting tired. I love hearing all the talk of freedom in here tonight. I wish we could talk more about that. This bill does restore individual freedom. On for the bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Schuler for your second time.
Thank you, Mr. President, for my second time. Just a couple of clarifications. You know, I was actually a member at one time in the union, and I wasn't a member. I was never coerced. I worked in 3 different school districts. It was my choice. I was free to join if I wanted to join, not join if I didn't want to join. And like I said, I've been around unions, a lot of other unions, a lot of other members out of state that are members or non-members. You know, like I said, I don't agree with everything that every union does. I'm sure probably not everybody else in here does. But I think the important thing to remember here, and it's been said a little bit, but at least one of the organizations that's pushing this from out of state was founded by 2 multi-billionaire brothers. And, you know, back in, you know, on the East Coast where one of these organizations started, they could care less about little old Wyoming. We should care about it. We should care about those over 100,000 people that are going to be affected by this, because of the fact that even if someone's not a member of a particular union, if they're in a public sector, they're going to have to go in and redo, as the good senator said from Alameda County, everything that was done in the past. And what a hassle. What a hassle for our secretaries, our HR people, our business managers, and so on and so forth, over nothing more than just a targeted effort by this out-of-state organization, by a couple of multi-billionaires and other state. I'm just mentioning 1 out of 3. So let's keep Wyoming free. We are free to do what we want to do here. We're free to join, not join. We're free to have dues taken out, not have dues taken out. Let's vote against this bill and do the right thing for Wyoming.
Further discussion? Seeing none. House Bill 178 having been read 3 separate times. The question is, shall the bill pass the Senate? Chief Clerk will call the roll.
Third reading roll call, House Bill 178. Anderson? No. Barlow? Aye. Boner? Aye. Brennan? Aye. Case? No. Cooper? No. Crago? Aye. Crum? No. Dockstetter? No. Driscoll? Aye. French? Aye. Guru? No. Hicks? Aye. Hutchings? Aye. Ide? Aye. Jones? Aye. Cole? Aye. Landon? Aye. Larson? Aye. Love? Aye. McEwen? Aye. Nethercott? No. Olson? Aye. Pappas? No. Pearson? Aye. Rothfuss? No. Salazar? Aye. Schuler? No. Scott? Aye. Steinmetz? Aye. President Beitman?
Aye.
Aye. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. House Bill 178, 21 aye, 10 no.
House Bill 178 having received the affirmative vote of the majority of the members elected to the Senate, House Bill 178 has passed the Senate. Senator Ide.
Thank you, Mr. President. Being on the prevailing side of House Bill 83 under Rule 1210, I move for reconsideration for the vote of House Bill 83, legislative subpoena penalty. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay. Do we need seconds, or is it?
No.
It's in order, and it's 2/3, or is it majority? Majority vote? All right, on the reconsideration, Chief Clerk will call the roll. We're voting on reconsideration of House Bill 83, legislative subpoena penalty. The motion is to reconsider.
For reconsideration. Anderson? No. Barlow? No. Boner? Aye. Brennan? No. Case? No. Cooper? No. Crago? No. Crum? No. Dockstetter? No. Driscoll? No. French? Aye. Guru? No. Hicks? Aye. Hutchings? No. Ide? Aye. Jones? No. Cole? No. Landon? No. Larson? Aye. Love? Aye. McEwen? Aye. Nethercott? No. Olson? No. Pappas? No. Pearson? Aye. Rothfuss? No. Salazar? Aye. Schuler? No. Scott? No. Steinmetz? Aye. President Beitman?
Aye.
Aye. Closing vote? Closing. Vote closed. For reconsideration, 11 aye, 20 no.
The motion to reconsider House Bill 83 has failed. Senator Scott.
Mr. President, I would like to ask for the privilege of the floor to discuss a particular issue that we dealt with this morning, if that's all right, Mr. President.
Yes, floor is yours, sir.
Mr. President, what I want to talk about is we had a general tax bill this morning, and what I want to talk about is the issue of conflict of interest in relation to that. And I procrastinated on rising on this issue because I didn't want to seem to be critical of any of the members that had declared a conflict on this. But I think we're drifting, Mr. President, into trouble on our conflict of interest in this sort of thing. And I think we need to think about this for the future. Mr. President, a good part of the reason we have representative democracies is so the people can retain control over the tax rates that we all pay. And on tax issues, general tax issues, and this was a pretty general issue, most of us have money at stake one way or the other. Same kind of interests that the people we represent share. And we're starting to see a lot of conflict of interest declarations on general tax bills. Now, Mr. President, they may well be justified in individual cases if there's some quirk in the bill that gives it a special advantage. But in other areas, Mr. President, if we're going to gain or lose money, we tend to declare conflict, but that's not true of taxes because they're paid by all of us, and it's our duty to represent our constituents on it. And I think we need to, in the future, think very hard as individuals and maybe as the Senate in the whole, should we continue this trend that is seeing a lot of conflicts of interest on general tax bills? I think it's a bad idea to declare one absent some very special provision on a general tax bill because it's a fundamental to our job that we should vote on the tax bills. That's how the people retain control of the taxation rates, Mr. President. So I'm really asking not for any action at this point, but for all of us, especially those who will be coming back, to think pretty hard about this issue in the future and see what the custom in the Senate ought to be, Mr. President. And as I said, I didn't want to criticize anybody who did because there may well be some special provisions in that bill, but I think it's something we need to think about.
Thank you, Senator Scott. Signing of enrolled acts. Senate Enrolled Act number 53.
Senate Enrolled Act number 53 being original Senate File 54, State Banks and SPDI Conversions, an act relating to banks, banking, and finance.
I'm about to sign Senate Enrolled Act number 53, being original Senate File 54. I've so signed. Senate Enrolled Act number 54.
Senate Enrolled Act 54 being original Senate File 55, Special Purpose Depository Institution Amendments, an act relating to banks, banking, and finance.
I'm about to sign Senate Enrolled Act number 54, being original Senate File 55. I've so signed. Senate Enrolled Act number 55.
Senate Enrolled Act number 55 being original Senate File 85, Raven Act, an act relating to the Division of Criminal Investigation.
I'm about to sign Senate Enrolled Act number 55, being original Senate File 85. Caca. No, I have so signed. Nobody's paying attention. Caca. All right, there's one raven out there. Senate Enrolled Act number 56.
Enrolled Act number 56 being original Senate File 81, K through 12 Public School Finance 2, an act relating to K through 12 public school finance.
I'm about to sign Senate Enrolled Act number 56, being original Senate File 81. So signed. Senate Enrolled Act number 57.
Senate Enrolled Act number 57 being original Senate File 66, Donated Hunting Licenses Amendments, an act relating to game and fish.
I'm about to sign Senate Enrolled Act number 57, being original Senate File 66. So signed. Senate Enrolled Act number 58.
Senate Enrolled Act number 58 being original Senate File 57, Transparency and Hospital Service Pricing, an act relating to public health and safety.
I'm about to sign Senate Enrolled Act number 58, being original Senate File 57. So signed. Senate Enrolled Act number 59.
Senate Enrolled Act number 59 being original Senate File 61, Motor Vehicle Sales to Family Members Not Taxable, an act relating to taxation and revenue.
I'm about to sign Senate Enrolled Act number 59, being original Senate File 61. So signed. Senate Enrolled Act number 60.
Senate Enrolled Act number 60 being original Senate File 23, Outpatient Examination and Commitment Length, an act relating to public health and safety.
I'm about to sign Senate Enrolled Act number 60, being original Senate File 23. So signed. Senate Enrolled Joint Resolution 4.
Senate Enrolled Joint Resolution 4 being original Senate Joint Resolution 9, Keeping Public Lands Protected and Decisions Local.
I'm about to sign Senate Enrolled Joint Resolution number 4, being original Senate Joint Resolution 9. so sign. Congratulations, Senator Barlow. Concurrence requests. Here he comes. Let's read it in while you're getting situated. Senate concurrence request, message number 277, referencing Senate File 84. Will the reading clerk read it in, please?
Message number 277, Senate File 84, Voluntary Water Conservation Program.
Senator Boner.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. I move for concurrence in Senate File 84 and ask for the body to vote aye. So just a little bit of background on this bill. As a reminder, this is the Voluntary Water Conservation Program set to deal with the challenges we're facing in the Colorado River Basin. You'll remember that we had a reasonably extensive third reading amendment as this bill went out of this chamber. We did get some feedback from the working group that put a lot of effort into the bill, and so I had a chance, a few of us, to go down and talk with the affected agencies and the stakeholders, and we came up with this amendment, which ended up being a committee amendment in the other chamber. And so got back basically to its original form, but was able to come to agreement and understanding on some of the concerns that were brought on that third reading amendment. So just to go through what we did, like I said, this is basically how the bill started in this chamber. Bottom of page 2, we want to give some flexibility. This idea that, yeah, the compact is great, but what if there's a court ruling that forces us to do something different? That gives us that flexibility. On the page 3, the definition that is reinserted there has already been agreed to by other basin states, so it's important that we retain that language. Sorry, Mr. President, there is a copy on your desk of the read in, the bill with the amendment read in. I think that's a little bit easier way of going about doing that. So if you want to reference that, I should have said that at the outset. Going on to page 6 and 7 of the bill, there was this idea that we're going to add or for any other valid purposes, not just for irrigation, but this paragraph is dealing with notifying contiguous lands. And so it does really only apply to irrigation. If we're talking about return flow or some other impact you have on your neighbor due to irrigation, is probably not relevant to industrial uses or other uses outside of irrigation. Page 8 is mostly formatting. Also, you see that language in case we're dealing with a court direction instead of the compact itself. It gives us that flexibility. Conforming amendments on page 10. And then you also further have, I think it's page, oh, I lost some of my pages there. So page 15, we insert a specific reference to Fontenelle Reservoir. You'll see that on the additional, let's see, oh, here it is. On page 16, the second half of paragraph C does give the engineer the authority to authorize storage in other reservoirs in the basin, not just Fontenelle. So that was taken care of in a different part of the bill, that concern. And perhaps the most substantive of all, on page 17, we asked that the two positions be a part of the standard budget request for the next biennium. The idea being that's going to be really hard to hire 2 individuals if they're only around for 2 years. So that was the amendments in the other chamber. I think it gets it back much more closely to the original form of the bill. And once we sat down and talked, we realized that we're all getting at the same objective. We just had slightly different ways of doing it. And so this committee amendment on the other side took care of those concerns. So I'll stand for questions on your concurrence and ask that you vote aye.
All right. Thank you, Senator Boner. Discussion on the concurrence request on Senate File 84. Discussion? Questions? Seeing none, the motion is that the Senate do concur on Senate File 84 and vote aye. The chief clerk will call the roll.
Concurrence roll call vote, Senate File 84. Anderson? Aye. Barlow? Aye. Boner? Aye. Brennan? Aye. Case? Aye. Cooper? Aye. Crago? Aye. Crump? Aye. Dockstetter? Aye. Driscoll? Aye. French? Aye. Garou? Aye. Hicks? Aye. Hutchings? Aye. Ide? Aye. Jones? Aye. Kolb? Aye. Landon? Aye. Larson? Aye. Love? Aye. McEwen? Aye. Nethercott? Aye. Olson? Aye. Pappas? Aye. Pearson? Aye. Rothfuss? Aye. Salazar? Aye. Schuler? Aye. Scott? Aye. Steinmetz? Aye. President Beitman?
Aye.
Aye. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. Senate File 84, 31 aye.
By your vote, you have concurred on Senate File 84. Message number 299, referencing Senate File 99. Senator Cooper, are you ready? We will read it in.
Message 299, reference Senate File 99, prescriptive easements for electricity delivery.
Senator Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for concurrence on Senate File 99 and ask for your favorable consideration. This is that simple electrical REA easement bill that we sent down the hall. They looked it over, our Senate position over pretty careful and figured out that it's pretty hard to improve on perfection. So they did do a little bit of work to it. They added a paragraph that asked for publication of an easement if they're going to grant one, or if they're going to be asked to be granted one. They deleted the amendment that we had put in there that was kind of cloudy on gross negligence, because they didn't like the language of the gross negligence. And they made one grammatical correction to it. So overall, it's the same basic bill that we had written originally. It's a good bill. There's no damage to it on either side. I ask for your favorable consideration.
Okay, discussion on concurrence on Senate File 99. Any discussion? Senator Crago.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess just a little bit more follow-up from the good sponsor on, the language we took out regarding gross negligence was the landowner provision that got stuck in there. I guess the question being, if they didn't like the language, why didn't they fix it up? Instead of just taking it out completely, maybe get a little more follow-up on that. Mr. President, thank you.
Any more questions before we go back to the sponsor? Seeing none, Senator Cooper?
I really think the bill as it stands, as they sent it back, is the right version. It's the original version that all of the landowners, all of the interested groups put together. Again, they brought this bill a year ago. I tabled it. I sent it back to all the stakeholders. At the last minute, a landowner who was off somewhere else added a little clip to it. But the landowner groups, Farm Bureau, Stock Growers Association, the WBA, they all agreed on this. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
All the stakeholders agreed on the bill as they brought it to us. It's a good bill.
Thank you, Senator. All right. The motion is that the Senate do concur on Senate File 99 and vote aye. The chief clerk will call the roll.
Concurrence roll call vote, Senate File 99. Anderson? Aye. Barlow? Aye. Boner? Aye. Brennan? Aye. Case? Aye. Cooper? Aye. Crago? Aye. Crum? Aye. Dockstetter? Aye. Driscoll? Aye. French? Aye. Garou? Aye. Hicks? Aye. Hutchings? Aye. Ide? No. Jones? Aye. Kolb? Aye. Landon? Aye. Larson? Aye. Love? Aye. McEwen? No. Nethercott? Aye. Olson? Aye. Pappas? Aye. Pearson? No. Rothfuss? Rothfuss? Aye. Salazar? Aye. Schuler? Aye. Scott? Aye. Steinmetz? Aye. President Biteman? Aye. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. Senate File 99, 28 aye, 3 no.
By your vote, you have concurred with Senate File 99. And let's see, message number, what are we on? Oh, I know that bill. Senator Rothfuss, do you want to help me out on Senate File 101, concurrence request? If it could be read in, message number 300. Do you have the paper? Or because I think I gave you the actual. There you go, Chief Clerk, or Reading Clerk. Thank you.
Message number 300, Senate File 101, Second Amendment Protection Act amendments.
Senator Rothfuss.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move message number 300, requesting concurrence related to Senate File 101, Second Amendment Protection Act Amendments 3, and ask the body to vote aye. Mr. President, the House made one amendment, and you can see that what it does is it goes into, on page 6, an existing provision which relates to the civil penalty. In the original engrossed version for the civil penalty, it provided for the opportunity. You can see that an interested party that successfully brings an action under this paragraph shall be entitled to reasonable attorney fees. That amendment, or that provision, is removed by the House amendment in page 6, lines 19 through 22, and then on to page 7, lines 1 through 2, it deletes the entire provision, and then inserts this new paragraph, which is largely similar to what was already there, but a key concept, the key change really, is what you see at the top of the Romanet 2. It says, an interested party may bring a civil action to enforce the provisions of this subsection. That was previously on page 7 in the full paragraph related to the full section. So this significantly narrows the action that can be taken by an interested party to only the subsection. That's confusing, but that's what it does. And the subsection is provided in paragraph D on page 5, which is specifically the provision where you have an agency with a person acting on their behalf who knowingly commits any of the following acts shall be subject to a civil penalty of $50,000. And then that's for each such employee employed by the agency of the state, political subdivision, or law enforcement agency who enforces, attempts to enforce, or participates in any manner one of the federal actions or implementations of a federal act, or gives material aid. So the net effect is a substantial narrowing of the cases in which an interested party may be able to bring an action from the entirety of what's enforceable to only the subsection. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. There may be some proponents who'd also like to speak on it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you for doing that for me. Any discussion on the concurrence request? Any discussion? Seeing none, the motion is that the Senate do concur on Senate File 101 and vote aye. The Chief Clerk will call the roll.
Concurrence roll call vote, Senate File 101. Anderson? Aye. Barlow? Aye. Boner? No. Brennan? No. No. Case? Aye. Cooper? Aye. Aye. Crago? Aye. Crum? Aye. Dockstetter? Aye. Driscoll? Aye. French? No. Guru? Aye. Hicks? No. No. Hutchings? No. Ide? Aye. Jones? No. Cole? No. Landon? Landon? Aye. Larson? Aye. Love? Aye. McEwen? Aye. Nethercott? Aye. Olson? Aye. Pappas? Aye. Pearson? Aye. Rothfuss? Aye. Salazar? Aye. Schuler? Aye. Scott? Aye. Steinmetz? Aye. President Beitman?
Aye.
Aye. Hutchings? No to aye. French? No to aye. Closing vote? Closing. Vote closed. Senate File 101, 26 aye, 5 no.
By your vote, you have concurred on Senate File 101. Senate File 121, message number 296.
Message number 296, Senate File 121, Wyoming Pharmacy Act Amendments.
Senator Dockstader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for concurrence of Senate File 121 and ask for your favorable approval. Members of the Senate, we moved this through the process over the other side. As you recall, we put this through the vetting process of those, not only in the pharmacy world, but the medical world. Got their full approval. Folks on the other side of the building asked that one part of it be removed. They were not comfortable with moving the vaccinations from 7 to 3. So that was removed, keeping the rest of the legislation as approved by those who work in the pharmacy world, the medical world. This allows pharmacists to prescribe devices like glucose monitors, antibiotics, and so forth, and ultimately allows the pharmacy, empowers the board of pharmacy to create responsible rules for management, and ultimately, it improves healthcare access across Wyoming. Ask for your favorable support. Vote of aye.
Thank you, Senator Dockstader. Discussion on the concurrence. Discussion on the concurrence. Seeing one, Senator Pearson.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I guess I'm confused. So is immunizations is out, or it's just 7 and older?
Okay. Anybody else before we go back to sponsor? Seeing none, Senator Dockstader.
Mr. Chairman, or Mr. President, yes, remains as is, 7, it doesn't go down to 3. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay. All right. Since we're ready to vote, the motion is that the Senate do concur on Senate File 121 and vote aye. The Chief Clerk will call the roll.
Concurrence roll call vote, Senate File 121. Anderson. Aye. Barlow. Aye. Boner. Aye. Brennan. Aye. Case. Aye. Cooper. Aye. Crago. Aye. Crum. Aye. Dockstader. Aye. Driscoll. Aye. French. Aye. Guru. Aye. Hicks. Aye. Hutchings. Aye. Ide. No. Jones. Aye. Cole. Thank you. Aye. Landon. Aye. Larson. Aye. Love. Aye. McEwen. Aye. Nethercott. Aye. Olson. Aye. Pappas. Aye. Pearson. No. Rothfuss. Aye. Salazar. Aye. Schuler. Aye. Scott. No. Steinmetz. Aye. President Beitman.
Aye.
Aye. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. Senate File 121, 28 aye, 3 no.
By your vote, you have concurred on Senate File 121. I believe that clears the desk. Chief Clerk, do we have any messages or anything? All right, that's a good day's work. Madam Majority Floor Leader, take us home.
Mr. President, I move that we stand adjourned until 10 a.m. Friday, March 6th.
Thank you. The announcements, Senator Case.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. The Conference Committee on message number 282, that is original House Bill 69, the land transfer at the Wyoming Life Resource Center. We're going to meet when our friends get out on the other side of the building. We'll be meeting in PMR 1, and that's Senator Cooper and Senator Guru. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that announcement. Oh, Senator Hicks.
Mr. President, your conference committee on original House Bill 78, or your joint conference committee on House Bill 78 will be meeting upon adjournment with the Light Committee in room 202 in the connectors downstairs.
Thank you. Senator Olson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your Senate Judiciary tried to meet for interim topics, but our friends down the hall didn't quite make it there, so we had to reschedule. We're going to meet to go over interim topics on Friday, tomorrow, noon, in the Supreme Court room.
All right, sounds good. Thank you. Senator Larson.
Mr. President, thank you. Management Audit Committee is going to meet in like 15 minutes in E5.
Thank you. Senator Schuler.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just one more reminder on the Joint Education Committee, 8 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock sharp in W005. Thank you.
8 a.m. on a Friday morning. Man, oh man. Any other announcements? Seeing none, you've all heard the Majority Floor Leader's motion. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. Motion carries. The Senate will stand adjourned until 10 a.m. Friday morning.